Hello and welcome to Buncey Cast number 8, and it is that time of the week again where we look at Fulham Football Club's performance, discuss it and comment down below any opinions that you have. And we were away this week to Manchester City, the Premier League champions of last year. Can our style of football break them down? Can we play our normal possession football? That is what I'm going to be discussing. And also, to start off with, I will be talking about our starting 11. In goal for us was our number 1, Marcus Bettinelli. At left back we had Ryan Sessegnon. Our 2 centre backs were Alfie Mawson and Dennis O'Doy. Our right back was Cyrus Christie. 3 central midfielders were Stefan Johansson, Kevin McDonald and Jean-Michael Seri. And our front 3, we went in there with Andre Schürrle, Alexander Mitrovic and Luciano Vietto. And changes that were made to the side was Ryan Sessegnon in for Le Marchand, Cyrus Christie coming in for Timothy Fosu Mensah, and Stefan Johansson coming in for Anguissa, and obviously Tom Cairney was still injured. So that was our starting 11, and I'm going to go through each of the players and their performances and what I made of it. And to start off with, Bettinelli in goal. I think he was probably our best player in that match because he did keep the score very low. I feel that if we had a different goalkeeper in net yesterday, then we probably could have lost 6 or 7-0. They had so many opportunities, and Bettinelli did make some good stops. I think that he did showcase why he was called up by England. Now, by no means was his performance great, because for their first goal, he seemed to have absolutely no reach whatsoever. He just flopped to the floor. He didn't stick out a hand, and a bit disappointing from Bettinelli there, but obviously he did redeem himself with some good saves, and I think he is still our best goalkeeper going into upcoming matches. However, I would like to see a little bit of an improvement from him. And going into the left-back position, we played Ryan Sessegnon, which was quite interesting, being that he is fairly wasted at left-back. But surprisingly, again, him and Bettinelli were our 2 standout players for me yesterday. I thought Sessegnon had a very good performance at left-back. He was stopping Raheem Sterling, and the only way that Raheem Sterling managed to find his breakthrough was when Ryan Sessegnon was moved up the field, and Raheem Sterling switched sides and found his breakthrough and got his goal. Now, Sessegnon versus Raheem Sterling was a very good battle to watch. I think Sessegnon definitely won it. Raheem Sterling just couldn't get past him. And it was good to see Sessegnon. Obviously, he isn't really a left-back. I probably would have preferred Joe Bryan. But he did have a good performance. And I am now going to move on to our 2 centre-backs. And the first one I'm going to discuss is Dennis O'Doy. And for a couple of weeks in a row now, I've been thinking we cannot go into this game playing Dennis O'Doy at centre-back. For one, he's small. Another thing is he is a championship player at best. And as well, he's not even a centre-back. That's not his natural position. His natural position is right-back. So why are we putting a natural right-back that is too small to play at centre-back, that isn't even a Premier League player? Why are we starting that player at centre-back? It's absolute rubbish. I don't understand it. Now, I'm not hating on O'Doy at all. I do rate him as a player, and as a right back, I think he'd be pretty good because he is a right back, and I feel that he'd probably be a better backup than maybe even Christie would be. I know that's a bit of a statement, but I feel that we can't play him at centre-back. Why are we benching Le Marchand, who, in my eyes, has been our best centre-back so far? Admittedly, his performance at left-back last week wasn't very good. That's because he's preferred at centre-back, and he was our best centre-back in the first few games. And I just don't understand why we're not partnering him with Mawson, now Mawson's back from injury. I really don't understand it. It's very interesting from Slavisa Jokanovic, but obviously we did go in with a back 4 yesterday, which had never played with each other, and it just baffles me. Like, why are we doing this to ourselves, especially against the Premier League champions? Anyway, next to O'Doy we had Alfie Mawson, and I didn't really see enough from Mawson to really make a judgment on his performance. I think it was bog standard. There wasn't really anything he did particularly wrong. Moving on to our right back centre-back position, we went in with Christie, and the statement I'm going to make here is Fosu Mensah is better than Christie. Hands down, 100%, Fosu Mensah is the better option. I do like Christie, I rate him as a player, but I think that for right-back, our first choice should be Fosu Mensah, second choice O'Doy if he's not a centre-back, and third choice Christie. And that is what I think, and Fosu Mensah is hands down better. Now, Christie didn't have a very bad performance, but Fosu Mensah has more quality and more experience. And at central midfield, coming in for Anguissa was Stefan Johansson. And I can understand why we played Stefan Johansson. Obviously, he's been in form for his national side. Obviously, he scored 2 goals. However, I think that Anguissa didn't really do anything wrong in the previous weeks for him to be taken out of the side. It's again another change in the team that hasn't been done yet this season. It's another position that is lacking because there isn't the same gelled chemistry that there was when Anguissa was in there, as he was just getting used to Premier League football. And again, I can understand why we played Stefan Johansson, but I don't think it was the right decision. I don't think he had particularly a bad performance, but again, not particularly a great performance either. And going on to McDonald's performance, he had a bog standard one again. Most of our players had a bog standard performance yesterday because we played the Premier League champions, Manchester City. And what do we really expect? You know, we are Fulham at the moment. We don't have the best quality to beat these teams. However, we can cause an upset because of the style of football we play. And Kevin McDonald didn't have a fantastic performance, but I still think that we needed him in the side because he has the leadership qualities that Fulham need. Seri, yesterday, he didn't really impress. Again, it was against a very good side. He gave away the cheap ball 1 minute in, which O'Doy then slipped. A calamity of errors between the two of them. And then, obviously, Bettinelli had no reach, and it was just a calamity from the whole side. Obviously, it was 1 minute and a half into the game. It was awful to see because I don't think that we deserved to go 1-0 down that quickly. It puts a dampen on the style of football we play, and as soon as that goal went in, I think it was game over from that exact moment. Moving on to our attack, we had Schürrle at the left wing spot, and I would say that is a good decision. I think that Schürrle is a very good quality player, and especially in these games we should be playing him. Nothing really to comment on his performance. I think that he didn't really get enough feeding from the ball from the midfield to really make anything happen, but what he did do was good enough, and hopefully next week against Watford Football Club we can see Schürrle back on the score sheet. Moving on to Vietto, I don't think Vietto really looked overly good yesterday, and I would probably prefer Ryan Sessegnon up top in the attacking position than Vietto, to be honest. I would rather have Ryan Sessegnon on the left and move Schürrle over to the right and swap them in between the game. I think that's what would be better at this point in time because we have Joe Bryan for left back, and I don't think Vietto's really had 2 weeks in a row now. He hasn't had very good performances, and I think that maybe it's time to try Sessegnon again, see what can happen. We don't want to make too many changes though, because again we're going to have the same issue that we're already having, making changes every game. We don't have a good starting 11 Lutz de Vista believes in it just yet. And moving on to the final player of the starting 11, Aleksandar Mitrovic. And again, I don't really have much to comment on his performance. He's a very good striker, but he didn't receive any service whatsoever yesterday. City's defence was tight. He didn't manage to do much because he wasn't receiving the service he usually gets. And I can really only recall one chance he had, and that was what he created himself towards the end of the game and did force a good save from Ederson, probably the best save of the match. Overall, City did show us why they are the Premier League champions, and I can't really be too annoyed. I think that 3-0 is probably a lucky result for us because of the way that we played and the absolute calamity that we've seen in front of our own eyes. I feel like we wasted an opportunity to gel our side further. Making all these changes, it's never going to go well, really, is it? And going into another game with a different back four, it's not going to be a good thing to do. It's always going to be a recipe for disaster going into a game with players that haven't played with each other before in their career. And going into next week, I would like our starting 11 to be Bessinelli, Fosu Mensah, LaMarchand, Mawson, Bryan, a midfield of Seri, K-Mac and Anguissa, or if Kearney's back, have him in there, and a front three of Sessegnon, Mitro and Schürrle. That is the side that I'd like to see going into next week. Let me know in the comments down below the side if you agree with that side and changes that you would make. And that will be it for this week. Obviously, Watford next week, that will hopefully get some more points on the table. They have had a very good start to the season, but they did lose to Manchester United now, so their winning mentality has been dampened, and hopefully we can capitalise on that, go into the side with a different back four, not completely different. We just need to get Odoi out of that position. If we go into next week playing Odoi again, I really don't know what to think. If I see Odoi on that lineup, and again, I'm not targeting Odoi, he's just not a Premier League centre-back. If he was at right-back, I wouldn't really care too much, even though Fosu Mensah is better, but playing him at centre-back, it's just outright stupidity. And that is it from me this week. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on Fulham's performance and what you would like to see going into next week. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye for now.